Hello, it's Keith here, and this is a bit of a special video because two things have happened today. Firstly, ChibiAkumas is now available for free download, so whether you're an Enterprise, MSX, Spectrum or Amstrad CPC fan, you can download the entire game for free today. And also, if you're interested, you can now get the source code to the game so you can have a look at how the game works. But don't stop watching yet, because there's two other things I wanted to talk about. Secondly, my channel has reached 500 subscribers today. I know that's very small as far as YouTube channels go, but I really didn't think that many people would be interested in my videos, so I'm really quite amazed by how many people are following me. I didn't honestly think I was going to be very good at talking through how programming works and trying to teach people how assembly works. So I'm really surprised that that many people are interested in seeing my videos, and I really appreciate everyone who's following me and who's watching the videos in general. So thanks a lot for that. Now, as a bit of a sort of thank you for this, I wanted to talk through today some of the other projects that I'm working on with regards to extending my YouTube channel and generally providing content. While I do have a Patreon account, I am trying to make all of the content free, and I'm just trying to give some of the secret background information I wouldn't generally give out about how the games are going and the problems I come across. And also I'm trying to give the games out to the patrons first, but it is my intent to make everything that the patrons get free to everyone just a little bit later down the line, so that the patrons are getting a bit of extra service. So you may know that I've got a mini game out for my patrons at the moment, which is called Tragical Chase. What this basically is it's a spin-off of the ChibiAkumas engine, and I'm trying to use the engine to its full capacity because there's some things that within the ChibiAkumas games weren't really used that the engine was capable of doing. And one of the things I wanted to try is a mini game with lots of levels that are semi-procedurally generated and where you are repeatedly changing direction. So in one instance you're scrolling left, the next minute you're scrolling up, the next minute scrolling right, and then you're being attacked from all sides. And this wasn't really something I felt I'd got the full ability out of within ChibiAkumas Episode 2. ChibiAkumas 1 didn't really use that at all. So now this was a chance to play with that a little bit more. The game's free to the patrons at the moment, but I'll be submitting it to the 8-bit annual competition shortly, and eventually it will be released free and again open source to everyone who wants to play it. Now, this game engine is going to have another purpose, because when I was writing it I was intending on using it for another purpose, and that was I'm going to create another free game which is going to be available to everyone, and the source code is going to be available. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through the source code in very great detail, and I'm heavily commenting the source code with the intention that anyone who wants to modify the game engine and make their own little shooter game using my game engine to whatever extent they feel confident, they will be able to do so. And as part of this, I'm extending and improving my sprite editor and making it more user-friendly so that people will be able to easily convert sprites, whether they've got them in PNG format from another program like Krita or Photoshop, that they can then export them into the sprite formats that ChibiAkumas needed. And I'll be showing you how to use those sprites within ChibiAkumas and eventually outside of ChibiAkumas if you're really programming something from scratch. So as I sort of said originally when I started this project, I want ChibiAkumas and its source code to be something that beginners can tweak and play with and have fun making their own similar games or almost identical games depending on their capability. Because as I've said always, the game's open source. I totally endorse you to use the game, the sprites and my characters if you can use that to create your own content, because that's how I learned to program originally when I was 8 and 9. So that's something I really think is important, that people have the ability to do so, and that's why I make all my games open source. So that's the next thing. Now there's another good reason I'm improving my sprite editor, because it's going to have a lot more work to do very soon. I've sort of hinted around the place. I've started work on my 6502 tutorials, and these are going to cover a wide variety of systems, including the Atari 5200 and the Atari 800, which are virtually the same system, the Apple II, the BBC Micro, the Commodore 64, the Atari Lynx, the Nintendo NES, the PC Engine, the Super Nintendo, although only in 6502 mode. I'm not teaching 65186 language at this moment. But we will be able to do some good stuff with the Super Nintendo and even the VIC-20. So the 6502 tutorials are going to very much mimic my Z80 tutorials. They're going to be taught to an extent from the ways of a Z80 programmer, because that's what I am. And over the Christmas period I'm going to start a new version of Grime Z80 called Grime 6502, which is going to be a port as close as I can make it of Grime Z80 to those 6502 systems. So hopefully whichever of those systems you enjoy using, you're going to have a little game, and again an open source game that you can learn from if you don't know how to program. So that should be a lot of fun, and that's coming soon. But that's not all I've been working on. I've not just got plans to do the 6502, I've already started working on the 68000 series of the 16-bit machines. Smaller set of machines I'm going to be covering there. I'm going to be covering the Atari ST, the Amiga, the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on where you live, the X68000, the Japanese machine, and also the Neo Geo. So again, a lot of different systems there, much fewer than the 6502s, but a really powerful set of systems that are really the sort of main systems that the 68000 was famous for, and we're going to learn how to do 68000 coding. And in all of these cases, 6502 or 68000, I'm going to be creating the same functions as I've been doing in my Z80 tutorials, so hopefully you'll be able to take all of the things you've learned from there and you'll be able to use my print string commands, my locate commands, my Chibi sound driver, and we'll be using the sprites and things to get graphics on screen in very much the same way. And Grime Z80, Grime 6502, and hopefully eventually Grime 68K will be as close as possible to the Grime Z80 code, in that the functions will have the same names and the same purposes, so you'll be able to switch between them and compare them, and hopefully they will give you an idea of how to port games between the machines, or even how to take the source code of those games and extend them to make much more advanced games of your own in the future. Well, there we go. Hopefully that's some interesting stuff for you. Please go ahead and download ChibiAkumas, because, as I say, it's going to be free today. And I hope you'll be interested in the stuff I've got coming in the future, and you'll continue following me. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.